So, good afternoon, everybody. Most of you know I'm Jeff Hoffman. I'm Spoke Director, Orange County Christian Cycling. The reason for this meeting, we want to talk about bicycle accidents, specifically, first of all, how to prevent accidents, and also, if it does happen, how to prepare for it. And I'd like to thank Judy at Crank It Up Fitness for providing us this space to conduct this meeting. And first, we're going to, with Mike Chai, he's going to talk a little bit about how we can avoid an accident and also how to prepare for one. So I'll turn it over to Mike.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Thank you.
Well, you left out Judy. We like to recognize Judy as one of our sponsors of Christian Cycling Orange County.
Well, I did. I said thank for this. Oh yeah,
Space, but she's asked to be one of our sponsors. And speaking of which, so is Mike Chai. He also sponsors his insurance agency is one of our sponsors.
Well, get on up there.
Thank you for your sponsorship and welcome.
For those of you who didn't hear Todd, let me go ahead and adjust this, and we'll get this going. So we have here Judy, owner of Crank It Up Fitness, sponsor of the Orange County Spoke for Christian Cycling. We have Jeff introducing here, he's the president. And as we scan across here, all the way over there's Todd, who's our social media director. And what else? What's your title?
I don't have one.
But the goal for today is to provide some insight and understanding to the difficulty of finding a solution to the problem of sporting cyclists' negative image to pretty much anyone else who drives a car who's not a cyclist, right? We're talking ultimately about car versus bike accidents. And unfortunately, there is a negative trend in how sports cyclists are perceived. All right, and then we're going to provide some information to help you prepare for an accident that could have devastating economic effects that could equal or exceed the emotional trauma of the accident itself. And then we'll talk about preparing, and that's what Pat's going to take over, preparing your bike so your bike isn't going to be the cause of an accident. Okay, so those are kind of the 3 points that we want to go over. And of course, there's no other fun way to start any kind of presentation unless you have a pop quiz. You ready, John?
I'm ready.
All right.
As long as I can hear, I'm ready.
All right, I'll talk loud.
Good.
All right. What side of the road must a cyclist ride on?
Right side.
Right side. See? You guys thought it was
Because
going
you're
to be
jumping
hard,
under the California motor vehicle code.
Right, correct. All right, now that we got the easy one out of the way. Cycling while under the influence of drugs or alcohol is illegal and is treated like a DUI.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Correct. California Vehicle Code 21200.5. How about this one? True or false? Talking on a cell phone while riding your bike is the same as distracted driving while driving a car.
Yes.
True. False.
False.
It is legal to talk on your cell phone while riding a bike. California Vehicle Code 27400. But it is illegal to ride with earbuds or earphones covering both ears.
Both ears.
Both ears. You can ride it with one.
Well, I have bone hearing, with the bone technology that goes over through the bone and you can hear.
You can hear it. That is legal because
Yeah.
it is not in your ear.
Yeah.
Correct. All right, how about this one? A car driver must pass a cyclist safely and allow a 3-foot buffer. True or false?
True.
True, correct. California was late to the party on this one. In 2014, California passed California Vehicle Code 21760, which requires that drivers maintain a minimum 3-foot buffer when passing a cyclist. And you would think that would help solve some problems, right? Not really, because even today, there is confusion about what this law does and does not cover, even among law enforcement officials.
And how many non-cyclists know about the law?
Not many, right? Now, how about this one? Last one. Bikes have the same rights as pedestrians. True or false?
Wrong.
False. Correct. CVC, California Vehicle Code 21200 says if you're cycling on the road, you are a car. Pretty much. All rules apply. So despite the fact there are laws on the books and in place. The reality is today that drivers as well as cyclists are not obeying them, which is resulting in cyclists being injured and sometimes killed in car versus bike accidents. And sadly, in most cases, the laws are not being enforced. Drivers and cyclists both are not being cited because of their ignorance of the law, like Brent was saying, how many drivers actually know about the 3-foot law. But unfortunately and sadly, even by police officers, they're not understanding how the law applies. So that is an unfortunate situation in our American car-based culture, right? And that is kind of where we need to remember. Southern California especially, but this is nationwide, we are a car-based society. So the reality is that car versus bike, car is going to win, right? Unless death or injury ensues, a citation is warranted, but admittedly unlikely. Unlikely, right? So what can we do as individuals? What can we do corporately? Or what can we do as a cycling group or team to help ensure our safety and rights on the road? And I'm going to tell you exactly what I tell my kids. Control only what you can control. And what is that? That's your own actions. That's yourself, right? That's the only thing that we have control on. Everything else is out of our control, but we can't influence it. Okay? And that's where we're going to go from here. All right. So what we must do as a group, as individuals, whether you're doing a solo ride, like I spend a lot of time doing, or whether you're riding with a group on Saturdays or Wednesdays, is we have to check ourselves, right? We have to be advocates for the laws for our safety by abiding in those laws that apply to us. It all starts with our own actions and educating others, being vocal about our compliance. Your actions ultimately represent and give perception to and about us, not only as people, but as cyclists, right? It's just like any other group that has a negative perception. It's a few bad apples that mess it up for everybody else, right? And that's where we get into bad legislation. But you can see the challenge, right? Changing other people's perceptions, priorities, and even attitudes is very difficult. What I am not talking about is that we should just all roll over and let everything slide. That is no better than being up in someone's face at a stoplight through the passenger window. It's not going to work, and I've seen that happen, right? What this means is that we have to take our opportunities and be tactful. We have to have tact, right? Now the challenge, which is easier said than done, is to change within ourselves, right? Anyone ever try to keep a diet? Try, right? It's a cycle. How'd you? Even regular exercise routines, right? It's a change of habit, and most people fail, right? So why is it so hard? For both cyclist or driver, why is it hard to change habits and attitudes towards certain things?
Key operative word, habit.
Correct. Those habits, that operative word, is a result of a lifetime of learned cognitive behavior. Learned cognitive behavior. Cognitive behavior is defined as a theory that behaviors and emotions are the result of negative patterns of thinking which have adapted over time. Right? I'm going to put it in not so scientific language. Cognitive behavior is simply scar tissue from years of experience, positive and negative.
Could be
You're-
either.
Yeah. You're all athletes, right? I know I have scar tissues. I've got a hematoma that runs from here to here, and I'm suffering from it today. And that accident happened 5 years ago, right? And now, Judy, we talked about our scars, right? Our muscular problems, right? I'm seeing, calf sleeves. I've seen knee bands, right? So just like our bodies do with physical injuries, the way we live, the habits and how we drive and how we ride our bicycles is a result of years, a lifetime of learned experience. Okay? So I want to kind of touch on this. Everyone here drives a car? Yeah, everyone's licensed? Okay, good. So I think about this. As a driver of a car, what empowers you while you're driving that car? And I'm not talking about gasoline.
Your driver's license.
What empowers you? Have a driver's license. Not everyone can get one, okay? What else empowers you as a driver in the car?
Your will,
Your
your desire.
Will, desire, transportation. You get there, right? How about your safety? You're driving pretty much a space cage,
Yeah.
right? How about speed? That's never a problem, right? Speeding?
No.
Well, there's power to speed. That's why there's fast cars all over the road, right? There's a power thing, right? Okay. Now, think of yourself as a driver still. What annoys you behind the wheel?
People that don't know where the gas pedal is.
Someone who drives a 91 regularly, I can tell.
People who don't use blinkers.
People who don't use blinkers.
Yes. A lot of people are running red lights now.
Yep.
I've noticed that.
How about pedestrians in a crosswalk? Someone who's taking their time when they know you're there waiting?
Yeah.
Yeah?
And you have to wait till they completely leave the crosswalk before you can turn.
That's right. Not till they get to the
They
little
don't do
pocket.
that. Cars don't do that.
That's correct.
And
Okay?
they will be in that crosswalk.
That one, that I don't mind. That there physically they can't. But if you've ever been by the high school,
Yeah.
it's like, man,
Smacking the
that's okay. You know what? We were all once there too. So what's our response to some of these things? Right? Let's start with John's example here on the 91 freeway. Someone can't find the gas pedal, right? So what would be a natural response?
Go around it.
Go around them, right?
Okay.
Use your accelerator. Fast car, right? What else? How would you respond maybe if you're in traffic and you're seeing someone is not paying attention and the car in front of them moved along on a stop line?
You use your horn.
Use your horn, right? Along with maybe a few choice words as you're going, right? We're all human. Let's be honest with ourselves, right? All right, now let's talk about being a cyclist. As a cyclist on the open road or on the road in general, what empowers you? Same question. I know for me it's just freedom. I feel free. What else empowers you?
The vehicle that you're driving at the time.
Right, right. Someone, if you have a couple of bikes, then that's a feeling of empowerment. It's cheaper than having multiple cars in your garage. I'll tell you that.
Boy, howdy.
Right. One more. Somebody else. What empowers you while you're riding on a bike? I promise I won't grade you.
exercise.
Exercise.
Physical ability.
Right, personal mobility and it's exercise. Both those I can see going together, right? Because you are the engine. And not everyone can ride 20, 30, 40, 50 miles. In fact, truth has it, not everybody can ride on the street, right? And that's in your mind. So just from this example, you can see from both factors as a driver and as a cyclist, just with the cyclists in this room, you can see that there's behaviors that are learned, right? Based on your past experience, right? Whether it's being impatient, right? And how you react. Now, I've seen a lot of birds in the air on the road on PCH for drivers, right? And cyclists alike. That too is a learned behavior. Not a good example by parents, but it's a learned behavior. Can you hear me, John?
Yeah.
Okay. So, our cognitive behavior, all this scar tissue leads to passive and aggressive behavior on both sides of the coin. This is why the problem is so hard to change. You can't legislate how someone thinks or learns, right? So, what can we do? We're all the problem. And it's not just a singular class of folks or riders or drivers that is at fault here. It's really everybody. So my proposal is that we focus on solving the problem within what we can control, which is our own actions and our own rights, right? So as we're out riding, it starts with the group. If you're in a group ride, agree on what's acceptable behavior, right? Because whether you're donning a Christian cycling jersey or a Crank It Up jersey, that is huge of how others perceive you. Not to mention gives them an address and something to Google where they can find you. I mean, let's be honest there, right? So we have, I mean, it blows up into quite a big deal. So focus on solving the problem within ourselves, checking our own actions so we can earn the right to influence others, right? And not to be seen as part of the problem on either side. So here's my tips on that, and we'll get on into point number 2. But some tips here on safety and just general awareness is just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? So just because you can, on a bike, get into the intersection, right, as it turns red, doesn't mean you should, right? And there are exceptions. Being a group rider, right, I know that especially if you've ever ridden crits, you know that if you're in a pack and you're at the front, it's got to roll because you're going to cause some things there. We'll talk about what happens if you do make bad decisions like that in a little bit, okay? So just because you can doesn't mean you can't. Use common sense. Have situational awareness, right? See, hear, understand, right? I used to ride with headphones. I mean, I've got every headphone you can imagine, even the bone conducting ones, right? And a couple of years ago, I stopped. Just stopped because I needed to hear things around. And it was because I got scared. I was enjoying a nice solo ride, coming across PCH, and somebody got up behind me, and I had my horn, and I did not hear them until they were right about here, honked, and then laughing all the way, right? And put me pretty much on the curb. So there was a cognitive situation where I said, no, I got to hear, right? And I've even bought cat ears. I don't have any stock in them, but although they make me look like Elvis in my shadow, they do phenomenal things for allowing you to hear because it takes the turbulence out of your ear.
Those little foam
That little, they look like felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got the low profile ones because my vanity couldn't allow me to have a mullet, right? But surprisingly, they work. I put them on, take the strap off the face, put it back on. It's just like that.
Where do you get them at?
Amazon for less than $20.
What do they call them?
It cuts the wind sound down. It cuts it by, they say about 20 decibels. It could be more. The key to that is your head position. Ask me about it. I'm a big proponent of that, but it depends on how your riding posture is. Yeah, but the wind noise is just as deafening in some cases. So yeah, ask. I'll fill you in. That's
What
not
do they
part of it.
What do they call them?
Cat ears.
Cat ears.
Yeah. All right. All right. Organized rides. If you are riding in a group, have correct protocol, understanding, and training on pace line. Okay. Not only does it look cool, and then when it's done right, it looks really cool, right? But in areas like in Long Beach where you don't have 3 feet of space, you can take a lane. It is safer in a double pace line than it is in a single, okay? But a double pace line, you have to understand the dynamic of rotation because otherwise it's not safe. And if it's not done right, then cops in Huntington Beach have been pulling over cyclists because it looks unorganized and it looks like they're taking traffic, right? So again, perceptions, what can be done, what can't be done.
These lights in the city wouldn't work anyway because of too many lights.
Yeah, you're right, and right now they are.
Take over a lane, we know we can take over a lane, but I don't know many drivers that know you can take a lane.
Correct.
And we may know it to fully have heaven, but if they don't know it, then it doesn't matter.
Correct.
And they're
I
just
think,
gonna get
Brent,
mad.
you and I were riding Balboa Island. We had to take a lane in a bike lane that was a green lane,
Yeah,
and then we got, I think, honk, cussed at, and sped pass, right? Everything
And
short
we
of
had the lane.
yeah.
Yeah, show us down there.
Yeah, we had the lane. And so, yes, the education is a big
So
piece.
for perception of cyclists, taking a lane is it?
It's iffy, but again, it's, in that case, I would have loved to have caught that red light. Just go, hey, dude, green lane, hello. At least, go look it up, type of thing.
Yeah.
So again, it's kind of like how you earn that. You will get an opportunity, right? It's like fishing. Those of you who fish know the sport's called fishing, not catching, right? Your catch is is dependent upon how much fishing you do. Your opportunity to share your passion for cycling and these things are just how long you're going to practice this, right? I actually had someone right here on Ball Road. I came out of El Dorado and I must have caught them at every light, and a couple of questionable yellow lights. I actually stopped, especially the T intersection down here, right where Baskin Robbins. What is that?
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't know the name of the street, but.
Yeah, which is normally you'll go by it because it's a T section, right? And Ball Road is the long T. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I had stopped, right? And this dude rolled down his window and said, "Dude, you're the first cyclist I've ever seen stop at this intersection. So thanks." I guess not everyone's an expletive, right? So that behavior gets noticed. You may not know it, right? But just like other things in life, it's those small things that changes perceptions and behaviors. Judy.
If you're gonna take a lane, and this happened, I think, when we did our Christmas ride, you take the lane, then don't go on to the side of the car at a red light. Either you're in the lane or you're not taking the lane and can squeeze in between the car
Right.
and the stores. You can't
Right.
do both, because someone just almost got squished out. I don't know who it was, was it Chris? I don't remember, but it was really sketchy. So either you take the lane or you're gonna cut on the side of the cars,
Right.
but don't take the lane and then go here and then go take a lane again.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, that's one of those things, even though you can't, even though you could, you shouldn't,
Yeah.
right? So if you're taking lane in a group especially, or even if you're one or two riders, if you're taking lane, just, you're a car, hold that position behind the lane, right? But I did check in vehicle code because I was wondering, because I have a habit, if someone's making a right turn, can you come around traffic and get in the lane or come over? Yes, vehicle code does allow that, just like a motorcycle can share a lane with you as a car. Same thing, but only if there's an impediment, right? So, yeah, the vehicle codes are very vague, but vehicle codes are also specific, if that makes sense. Okay, so on law and kind of attitude, the cognitive learning, just be aware, right? And above all, and this is where you'll get your opportunity. Be polite. You're at a stoplight, unclick, go down. I look around, take my water. I wave at the person next to me, right? If you pass another cyclist on the roadway, right? Give them a hey, good job, guy, or little peace sign low, so they can see it. It goes a long way, and it sounds dorky, but it makes me feel good when I'm riding. It's like, yeah, cool, right on, good job, right? You want to change your attitude? Focus on someone else's. Okay? All right, so we've talked about preparation and everything. I only got a couple more minutes here, and then I'll pass it to Pat. But I want to talk about being prepared for the worst case scenario. Okay? Now I'm a State Farm, I'm an insurance guy, and I'm not trying to make this a sales pitch. So, if you want to talk to me about insurance, absolutely. But what I'm telling you here, go to your respective insurance company and ask them about it. Okay? Ask them if their policy's covered or their definitions define it in this way, because some of these things are huge. But we know cars, as drivers, have to have insurance. It's the law. How about cyclists? Meh, not so much, right? But that doesn't mean cyclists shouldn't have some form of insurance. But if you've ever shopped, there's really no insurance for cyclists, specifically. However, there is insurance that you currently have that can help you out in the case of an accident, okay? So, I already gave you that, talk to your carriers. Let's talk about liability. In your car, every single one of you I know has liability. You get in an accident, it's your fault, you have X dollars to help with bodily injury that you caused, right? And then X dollars to pay for whatever you damaged. What if you're on a bicycle? No. Your homeowner's policy has light here under your liability coverage. So your homeowner's liability, right? I want you to think liability. This is if you caused bodily injury unintentionally, but it's your fault. If you have a pet, a dog or a cat or a bird, yes, I did say bird, and they injure somebody, you'll find out who's your friend real quick. I'm going to pick on the dog. The dog bites somebody. There's no law in California that will defend you. You are at fault for that person's injury. Your homeowner's policy will defend you up to your limit of liability, for that person's injury. Okay? Now, how would that apply as a cyclist, Mike? Well, remember that example? You're riding along, maybe you're riding solo. If you've ever ridden, and I know, like say, Pat's fast, maybe he's riding and then he picks up a bunch of riders behind him, drafting you. You guys have all seen that. I know a lot of us have experience where Brent and I'll be talking, and we'll look at behind you, we got 10 people behind us. Where'd they come from? Enjoying the draft. Darn leeches.
Hey, that's nothing wrong with no.
Brent is like the best to go.
You're right, because if I'm riding behind you, I'm on your wheel all day.
You draft all day. As long as you get in front of me after a little bit and leave it out.
Yeah.
There's rules to drafting.
Unless they're the Tour de France, hang out 3 back. I ain't going up
They
there.
get $1 million time for it. That's a totally different story. Come on, man.
Right.
Can't bring that in here.
Okay, so you get someone like me who's riding along. I got some people behind me. Light turns yellow, red. I'm going to be conservative. I put on the brakes and stop. I got everyone else that comes up on me, crashes, goes around me, right? It can happen. I've seen it pretty darn close happening. Okay? Those people, if they found out who you were, how to contact you, they could sue you for whatever injuries, damage they have because you were the cause of that accident. In that case, you'd be paying the attorney fees and judgments out of your pocket. But under your homeowner's liability, depending on how broadly your insurance carrier gives that coverage, right? If you didn't cause it on accident and the resulting bodily injury was a result of your negligence, and there's the argument, were you negligent in stopping with people behind you, right? If the court says yes, you were negligent, your homeowner's insurance has the potential to pay for that injury up to your limit. Okay? So that's just something to be aware of. From liability to coverage for the bike. Your cars, some of you have comp and collision with a deductible, right? Car gets stolen, car gets in an accident, you can fix it. You really can't get that for the bicycle, right? You could buy a personal articles policy which insures the bike for theft, vandalism, some crashes, but if you race and you crash in a race, they're excluded, okay? But under your personal property coverage of your homeowner's insurance, and if you don't own a home, if you have renter's insurance, it works the same way with what I'm talking about. Okay? You do have some coverage for your bike for theft, for instance, right? So if your bike's stolen, subject to your deductible, anywhere in the world, okay, you could probably get coverage for that. It's all about how your carrier defines those events, because in California, your personal property is essentially only covered for 16 things. Crazy, huh? Fire, lightning, windstorm, hail, theft, vandalism, upset by motor vehicle. Okay? Upset by motor vehicle. So in a car accident, car versus bike, there is a potential, if you're at fault, that your home insurance could pick that up. But it depends on how they define upset a motor vehicle. Okay? So coverage for your bike where you may not have realized it. Let's talk about medical payments. We had one of our members, Tom Sevilla, got in an accident. He's had how many surgeries and how many days in the hospital?
31 days in the hospital.
3 surgeries.
Anyone want to take a guess on what that bill's going to look like? Okay. Whether you're at fault or not, the reality and the truth is you're going to get some medical bills. Right? So some of us have very good health insurance. That's great. But most health insurance policies have a copay or what we call out-of-pocket. Right? Either deductible or out-of-pocket. So if you retain anything from the last 20 minutes of me talking, retain this, go talk to your auto insurance agent or broker. Ask if you have medical payments coverage. It's called MPC or MedPay. If you have MedPay, ask your broker, do I have medical payments coverage? What's my limit? You can get from $1,000 to $100,000 with most carriers in California. The reason why this is important is if you're hit as a pedestrian or as a bicyclist, your auto insurance policy coverage, MedPay, can help you with your out-of-pocket medical expenses from $1,000 to $100,000, depending on what you've chosen for coverage. MPC, MedPay. Okay? So that, if you're going to remember anything, remember that one. Okay? Then there's other insurances that we can talk about, but disability insurance, right? Your workers' compensation at your job will not cover your cycling activities unless you cycle for your work. You're covered, okay?
What about commuting to work?
Commuting to work, under work comp, you'd have to be able to say that was part of your job, okay? So, disability is sometimes worse than death. Disability insurance is your ability to provide income for your family in lieu of a paycheck after you've exhausted your vacation days, personal time, sick time, all that. All right, and then the last one, in case the worst case scenario happens, we've been working it down, life insurance. Life insurance, right? Now, some of you guys at work have benefits. Check your benefits coordinator, see if it's life insurance or accidental death and or dismemberment. Right? In a bike accident, it's accidental death or dismemberment. You lose a limb, that can pay dividends to you in the long run. Okay, but life insurance is your ability to provide the money to help your family live the dreams that you were working so hard toward. Right? There's no cheaper way to fund that than with life insurance and disability. Okay? So, death insurance, and it doesn't have to be death. There's life insurance products that you can use while you're alive. I'm a big proponent of those. If you have questions, you can ask me later. Okay?